The 30 years leading to the formation of the Vril Society was an era obsessed with the strange combination of racial solidarity and the occult.
Magic and occult ideas dominated thinking of virtually every class of society in the late 19th century.
But of all the mystics of the time, one person's writings may have been the genesis of the phenomenal occult frenzy. Madame Helene Petrova Blavatsky.
I would say that Blavatsky provided the metaphysical framework that has gathered together the vast streams of the ancient wisdom into a coherent system.
Blavatsky founded the Theosophical Society in 1875 and established herself as a kind of sage in the occult realm. Theosophists believe in a combination of Asian and occult ideas to promote the concept of a superior Aryan race.
She traveled throughout the world for spiritual reasons.
Madame Blavatsky wrote, well, several books, but the particularly influential one was The Secret Doctrine.
It was based on knowledge she acquired in India and Tibet.
She claimed that she got her teachings from secret messages from Mahatmas in the Himalayas.
This groundbreaking book, written in 1885, did something no other book had ever done. It combined science and religion.
It was a period which witnessed an enormous blossoming of various secret doctrines and orders. Templars and Rosicrucians, Illuminati and Freemasons, Anthroposophists, Theosophists, Neo-Templars and Armanen. Some of them seemed suddenly to have woken up after a centuries-long sleep. What had disturbed their slumber was this: the impending arrival of the prophesied New Age, the changeover from the age of Pisces to the Aquarian Age. Every one of these groups felt themselves called upon to make their mark on the approaching era. The year 1917. 4 men and a woman met here in the Viennese cafe Schopenhauer. The young Maria Ortiz, a spiritualistic medium from Zagreb, the student and fighter pilot Lothar Weitz, the occultist, orientalist, and officer Karl Haushofer, Rudolf von Sebottendorf, an occultist who had recently returned from the Orient, as well as Prelate Gernot from the Order of Knights Templar. Their subject was the coming of the New Age. They spoke of secret revelations, the Spear of Destiny, the magical violet black stone. They discussed the possibility of making transmedial contact with the ancient Germanic and Babylonian deities, Ishtar, Ostara, and Isais, and of communicating with distant worlds, not only on this side, but also on the other. It is quite likely that this coffeehouse meeting witnessed the birth of the secret Thule Society, which in turn later spawned the German National Socialist Party, the SS, Black Sun, and the Vril Society, which in its turn gave a foundation to the occult activities of the Third Reich.
Because of the deep Christian and occult nature of the Thule organization, which meant something like the Society for Research on Atlantis, its members searched in all ancient prophecies for when the Dark Age would come to an end. In his last days, Jesus revealed something about the days to come. These old secret prophecies revealed by Jesus to his apostles said that the beginning of salvation would spread from a country behind large mountains, where a great leader by the name of Elijah would be born. Jesus turned around while talking and pointed to the Roman legionnaire Longistus, who was a German mercenary. As a result, the German lodges believed that this secret gospel of John revealed that the land was Germany, the large mountains being the fortress of the Alps, and that the mentioned leader was already incarnated. He would free the world through the final battle in order to initiate the 1,000 years empire of peace and the return of Christ. This is how the Thule interpreted Christ's speech. In about 1,000, plus not quite 1,000 years, you will be reborn together with Elijah to free the world.
Therefore, the Tula Society was a precursor to the original cell of the NSDAP. The successors of Sebottendorf, Dietrich Eckart, and in his trial Karl Haushofer, initiated Hitler into this legend, which at the time, and even later, had primarily gathered forces in the Freemason lodges and in the organizations of the Jews. That is the story behind it all.
Churchill and Roosevelt were the leaders of the Freemason Brotherhood, and Hitler was the leader of the Tula Society and the New Templar Order. In the prophecy stating that at the time of the return of Christ, the head of the serpent would be crushed, it was not meant that the Freemasons and the Illuminati would be violently destroyed. On the contrary, it meant that through the return of the inner cosmos, the Christ powers would depossess the world powers through the overcoming of polarity in man. There will be no world powers left, because from then on, there will only be ascended and conscious beings on earth. They will have lived through the resurrection and will be connected to their inner truth. The return of Christ, thus, is the revelation of the planetary spirit in man, out of which he can read the whole truth himself. And thus we can perhaps only guess that the apocalypse, to a great extent, will take place in the mind of people and only partially in the outside world. The first meeting between the Tula organization and Hitler took place when the Tula organization, together with the officers of the Volunteer Corps, drove the communists out of Munich. Hitler was informed about his specific destiny and firmly believed himself to be the reincarnated leader from Atlantis. The aims of this sect were obviously kept silent. Hitler was worshipped as Elijah. His salute, also called Ave, is a greeting of the gods. The swastika was the reversed symbol of Atlantis. If the swastika is turned anti-clockwise, it means the resurrection of souls, the ascension into the golden age. Turning the swastika clockwise means the descent of souls into the dark ages. Germany Awake was written on every banner, the sentence supposedly an awakening call towards a new golden age. The Tula organization wanted to bring about, by force, the resurrection of Atlantis and the 1,000 years empire foretold by Christ. No wonder they used the sign of the descent into the dark age. Adolf Hitler was adored as a savior by 50 esoteric groups and brought to power. For the first time during the modern era, an esoteric sect came to power, with all its divisions and various branches. The sole objective of this sect, who practiced secret occultism and mass magic, and lived in its own reality, was to take power from another esoteric sect, which has held the world power in its hands until this very day, the Freemasons and the Illuminati. Surely it is no coincidence that both the Germanic and the Freemason lodges, which both believed themselves to be chosen by God to lead mankind, were in fact the misleading seducers rather than the chosen ones. And once again, mysterious brotherhoods established all this in Munich through the Tula Society. Von Solotten was initiated by the Turkish Freemasonry, and Karl Haushofer by the Japanese royal court, which he had visited before the First World War. It was their sole intention to enter the political scene, and when the occultists actually got into the leading positions, the Tula Society was dissolved, and a much more secret circle of the Tula was formed. Even the Second World War may have been planned or masterminded by the Freemasons and Illuminati, and the opposition financed by their manipulation of capital.
There is another theory on Sebottendorf, which is held by the French author René Allot, who in his 60s has written a book and had been intensely interested in Sebottendorf. In that book, he declares that Sebottendorf acted secretly on behalf of the Order's chiefs. These Order chiefs were from the Turkish Lodge, which Sebottendorf had joined on his first stay in Turkey. So from this theory derives the idea that Sebottendorf was possibly in charge of bringing the national movement in Germany under the control of the Freemasons. One has to add that the Freemasonry which Sebottendorf was talking about was the Eastern Freemasonry. He also called them the Rosicrucians, the alchemists. It is different from the Western Freemasonry, which he had rejected. Following this theory, little by little, Sebottendorf published secrets, in particular in his book, The Practice of the Old Turkish Freemasonry, which was published in 1924. In this book, there are meditation practices aimed at self-discipline, which he brought back from Turkey. The theory finally developed through this book, and it was also applied to the time Sebottendorf spent in Munich. Even there, he is supposed to have been working under the secret order chiefs.
Not much has changed today. All who are striving for power are manipulated through their need for loans from the financial lodges. They need money to finance their personal power thirst, their armies and wars. The Third Great War was already predicted in the scripts of the wise men of Zion. This one too is supposed to take place in Germany and Europe. It will be interesting to see who will be used as a tool this time. Will it be a Russian or Muslim dictator who wants to release the world once again from the Illuminati? Already one can find an extensive range of books and countless scripts, especially in Muslim countries like Iraq and Iran, telling us how the imperialistic and Zionistic Freemason Christianity remains the great evil. It is only a matter of time until a spiritual leader will be born, or maybe already is. This person might already be here, having possibly experienced the strange war against Iraq, and will try in the near future to release the world and the Muslims of the evil conspiracy and of Christianity, using literature about the conspiracy in order to initiate a final religious war and atomic disaster. Mankind could spare itself by overcoming polarity. The ego games are still being repeated. As long as there are humans who believe that the world can be changed on the outside by power, laws and war, the wolf in sheep's clothing will still mislead people. Each one of us can only lead himself. Only when man is able to let go of all needs for authority within himself and on the outside can he take the first step into independence, because all political and religious leaders are misleading seducers. Therefore, it is a sad truth of karmic fate that one day the world will find out that the Holocaust of the Jewish people was indirectly financed by their own lodges. During the Third Reich, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Schacht, organized the funding of armaments and Hitler's rise to power, not only through the German industries, but to a great extent through secret money transactions from Swiss bank accounts. Illuminati and wealthy Jewish capitalists raised $120 million to bring Hitler into power. The New Templar Order saw the Illuminati and the Freemasons as the Antichrists, whereas the Illuminati and Freemason orders perceived the New Templar Order and the Nazis as the Antichrist.